Hello, my name is Tim Kiefer, and I represent the Village of Waunakee on the Dane County Board. I will be the moderator for tonight's Waunakee Village President Candidate Forum. The election date is April 7th, Tuesday, April 7th, and please note that the voter ID requirement to show a photo ID will not be in effect for the April 7th election. This candidate forum is sponsored by Grassroots Organization of Waunakee, also known as GROW. Check us out on Facebook or on the GROW website, which is grassrootswaunakee.org. I should note that GROW as an organization does not endorse candidates and is not endorsing either candidate in this election. In addition, I myself am not endorsing either candidate in this election. I'd like to thank Moonstruck Media Production, a local Waunakee video production company, for videotaping tonight's candidate forum. And I'd also, of course, like to thank our two candidates, Jack Heineman to my right and Chris Zellner to my left. We are going to start with a few pre-submitted questions and then take questions from the audience. There will be a 2-minute time limit on answers, which I'm going to strictly enforce because we want to get through as many questions as we can in the time that we have allowed. And we'll alternate who answers each question first, so that way it's fair. So with that, the first of the pre-submitted questions is, why are you running for village president? And we'll start with Jack.
Thank you, Tim. The reason I'm running for village president, I think Waunakee is a great community. We moved into it. It's got a great school district, ranked 5th in the state, and people will continue to move to the district. But I think one of the challenges that we've got right now is that our tax base is 75% residential, 25% business. And with the continued growth of the school system and the continued growth of people moving into Waunakee, I think what we need to do is balance that where we can expand business so that we can keep people in the community to spend their dollars in the community, and they've got some opportunities to do that. I think as I have talked to a number of people during this campaign, Waunakee is currently considered a bedroom community, and some of the things that I've heard is that the new people won't support businesses and so forth. But as we develop as a community, some of the things that we're talking about is we're an artsy type community, or we're trying to look at our different niches. Well, I think those niches are the ones we have to develop plans and so forth around, and create businesses that will community will support.
Thank you. And next we have Chris Zellner. The same question, which is, why are you running for village president?
Well, first I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight, Tim for moderating. Also, I'd like to publicly thank John Lobmeyer, who's in the audience, for being our village president for these many years, doing such a wonderful job and being a great mentor to me as I've been on the board for 9 years. Waunakee is a wonderful place to live. I've grown up here. I've been here for 45 years. It wasn't to my brothers and sisters' liking as we came from Green Bay when I was 6 weeks old. We lived right across from Lambeau Field. So my older brothers weren't happy to come to Waunakee. However, over the years, we developed just a true love for the community. My wife and I went to school at University of La Crosse, and we said right when we graduated, we want to be back in Waunakee. Why? The same reason my parents came to Waunakee. My dad was an auditor for the state of Wisconsin, and we were living in Green Bay. We had no choice but to move to Waunakee. That's not true. We had many choices in the community around Madison. He chose Waunakee because it's safe, we had great schools, and the proximity to Madison. Okay, many people in Madison have to drive further than we have to drive for many different things that they may want to do, whether it be a movie theater, a restaurant they want to go to. We don't have those things here in Waunakee. We may never have those things because the businesses will determine whether or not they're going to come here. I, like Jack, want to get those businesses to come here, but they're only going to come here as our population grows and the need arises. So as I go through and wonder why I want to run for president, it's because my children were raised here. My daughter goes to the University of Wisconsin, and I'm hoping that they will want to move back to Waunakee just like I did. Thank you.
Thank you. And next question is, what education, experience, and skills do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve as village president? And this time we'll start with Chris Zellner.
Yeah, I've been on the village board for 9 years. Many committees, Public Works, Parks, Finance, Personnel, all different committees that are designed to help the village run better. Those committees are served on by residents of the village. And what's one interesting thing that's occurred, and I credit John to this more than anyone, we had very few people that wanted to be on these committees for many years. And all of a sudden now, we have a list of people that want to be on those committees. I attribute that to John. Once again, as far as why, or my education experience, I do have a degree in public administration and school health education. I believe in education. I'm a little different than the governor, I will say that, in what I believe are for education. I think that's what people come to Waunakee for, is because we have such a sound educational system and that we're safe. All right, so I would say that that background helps me to understand those issues much better. As far as the president's role, I think the president's role is to facilitate and run the board, not to dictate what's happening on the board. All right, there's one vote for the president, one vote for each of the trustees. All those people are experts in different areas, and we want to rely on their expertise. Just like the committees that we have, we want to rely on their expertise to help us in guiding us to make decisions. My job will just be to help to facilitate and run that.
Thank you. Next question is a question pertaining to sidewalks.
Do you want me
Jack's
to,
got it first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm giving you, the next question is going to pertain to sidewalks, but you have to answer this question first.
so you're taking the pressure off.
Yeah, sorry about that. So what education, experience, and skills do you have that you believe qualifies you to serve as village president?
Well, from a educational standpoint, I'm a UW-Madison grad in mechanical engineering. I received my master's in business administration from the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. I served on the Oshkosh Planning Commission, and I was a member of the Oshkosh Chamber Leadership Oshkosh graduating class. And one of our current presidents said he's qualified to be or candidates said that he's qualified to be president because he's an Eagle Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. So, you know, I probably have those qualifications here. But on a serious note, you know, I've come to this position. I've been around government my entire career. I came down from Oshkosh. And, you know, I've been involved with economic development organizations across the nation. I'm one of 9 founding members of the Agriculture Technology Innovation Partnership Foundation, which is a public-private partnership that has been set up to support the commercialization of USDA agriculture patented technologies. I've held a number of management positions in both large and small organizations. I've co-founded 2 startup companies. I've owned a small business that employed approximately 20 people. Under my leadership as a chief operating officer for a generator company, the company grew from 60 employees to over 200 employees in 5 years. Annual revenues grew from $6 million to $52 million during that same period. And our competition during this growth period were Fortune 500 companies. What I learned from this experience was the fact it's not the big that beat the small. It's the it's the fast that beat the slow.
And that's your 2 minutes right there. So, because I'm so eager to get on this question about sidewalks. Now we will get to the question about sidewalks. Sorry about the confusion earlier. But this is a question pertaining to sidewalks and how to pay for them. When a street is rebuilt in Waunakee, should the cost of reconstructing the sidewalks, curb, and gutter be paid for with village funds, or should the adjacent property owners be assessed for the sidewalks, curb, and gutter work? How do you feel this work needs to be paid for? And this time we'll start with Jack Heineman.
You know, at this time, I would not change the current policy. However, you know, as state budgets get tighter, we're going to have to figure out how we can potentially continue the services of that we offer to the community. I see that as I sit on the school board, current school board. You know, we're looking at how do we cut our budget in a growing district. So, you know, at this time, I wouldn't change the way we do it. But I would be open for review in the future as monies get tighter.
And next, Chris Zellner, same question. Sidewalks, how do we pay for them?
Well, this is probably one of the most fun topics we get to discuss at the village board. It's always controversial, no matter what the situation is, when we're putting in sidewalks. Some people want them, some people don't. Who's going to pay for them? The question, as you've stated, is who should pay for them? I believe that the general fund from taxpayers should pay for them because they're benefiting the entire community, not just the resident there. That's simply it.
Thanks. Now, next question is, do you support or oppose establishing bus service between Waunakee and Madison, including village funding for part of the cost? And this time we'll start with Chris Zellner.
Yeah, we studied this several years back, and we actually had some routes, one going to west, one going to the east side of Madison, and the funding was cut, similar to what John talked about earlier. So we didn't have that funding available to us anymore. I would look at some sort of ride sharing, maybe a bus in the future as it's necessary. To put the whole entire cost on the village, though, probably not appropriate right now. Not that it wouldn't be in the future.
I just want to follow up briefly. You said the funding was cut. Was that the village funding was cut? Or?
State.
Oh, state funding. Okay. And now same question for Jack Heineman. Bus service to and from Waunakee. What's your position?
Well, on the surface, one would support bus service between Waunakee and Madison. However, the devils are in the details. For example, I think what we need to understand is the ridership. You know, who would use the service, for what purpose, overall cost to the village, who is sharing the cost, are there federal funds involved, you know, for this project, are there state funds involved for this project? You know, bus transportation is a challenge because depending upon where you are, not many people ride it. My daughter goes to the University of Minnesota. They just put a light rail in up there in Minneapolis, and it's great. You know, to get around the community. You can park your car someplace at a ride and share or a hotel, and be able to move around it. But I think you know, one of the things, if you're going to commit to something like this, we have to develop a sustainable model so that tax dollars are not fully borne by, you know, people who don't use it. And quite frankly, you know, as we get smart cars and things like that that come out over the next you know, 5-10 years, you know, is bus transportation really going to be required? Another model you could probably take a look at is you know, car sharing. You know, where if you need to ride from Waunakee to Madison, you know, you can buy into a car, you know, and rent the car to to go to Madison. So I think there's a lot of different models out there, and things are changing, with ride sharing and so forth as well. So
Thank you. Next question relates to North Mendota Parkway. And as I had mentioned during the earlier forum on the town board chair for Westport, that situation has changed just recently. We thought the state potentially was going to be investing in an engineering study for North Mendota Parkway with the local governments cost sharing that. Found out just on Friday that that's been apparently removed from the state budget. So this question is just going to be more open-ended, I guess, which is North Mendota Parkway. What's your position on? What are your thoughts on North Mendota Parkway? And I believe you're the person who'd answer first. This would be your turn. So Jack Heineman, you're first on answering that.
yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. I think one has to look at, this project has been around for a long time. And as we look at the current areas that are mapped out for the North Mendota Parkway, one has to ask if this goes in 20 or 30 years, is that still, the right route, to go. So I think depending upon when this gets into the state transportation budget to put it in, you've got to review that. But I think the other thing you look at, we've already got Highway 19, which is a corridor between 94 and Highway 12. Does the North Mendota Parkway just become a bypass around Waunakee as opposed to where it's drawn today? Those are some of the questions that I would ask. And I think the other thing, when you look at cost sharing for this, I would have to say no, because the state pulled it out of the budget, so I wouldn't support the cost sharing at this time.
And now, Chris Zellner, same question. North Mendota Parkway, what are your thoughts?
As Jack said, it's been studied for quite a few years, and I think it comes down to quality of life, because we're going to be dealing with environmental issues. We're going to be talking about farmland being taken. All those things are going to happen when that road goes in, if it goes in. As far as us participating, I don't see where we would be able to assist in a $300 to $500 million project in what they're talking about. I think that's an enormous dollar amount, and for them to put, maybe a portion of that, I think we would participate in some more studying to be done, more so than just paying for the road, and how that's going to impact Waunakee. Is it going to have an impact, as Jack mentioned? Bypassing Waunakee doesn't necessarily help our commerce. If it's closer to Waunakee, then it would absolutely have an impact in a positive way on that potential growth of business in our community. But right now, I wouldn't support. Obviously, we don't have the funding there from the state level anyways at this point. So, as Jack said, I wouldn't support that as well.
And now, question is, I guess, perhaps an optional question if you want. And to warn you, I am between the two of you, just in case. But the question would be, what question, if any, if you'd like to do so, would you like to ask the other candidate in this race? And we'll start, Chris, it's your turn, so Chris Zellner will go first. Do you have a question you'd like to ask the other candidate?
I do not at this time.
And same question for Jack Heineman. Do you have a question you'd like to ask Chris Zellner?
Well, I think the question would be, what is your vision to transition Waunakee from a bedroom community to a destination community?
Chris?
As far as making it a destination, I do believe it is a destination. People move here because we have great schools, it's a safe community, so it is a destination for people to move to. As far as bringing people in from outside of our community, that's going to be the business world that's going to determine that. What we can do as assistants to bring those businesses in, that's what's going to be the key. So from a bedroom community perspective, I love the fact that we have entrepreneurs that move to Waunakee. They're the ones that drive business not only in Waunakee but throughout the area, and the people that work in those businesses are from those people. So it's great to have them here.
Yeah, and I think just to be fair, you should probably answer your own question. Destination community versus bedroom community, what are your thoughts on that? What's your vision?
Well, I think one of the reasons that we moved to Waunakee is my wife's grandmother was the 1912 valedictorian of Waunakee High School, and my daughter graduated in 2012, 100 years later, which was pretty exciting. But we looked at Waunakee because of the strong school systems and so forth. I think as we continue to develop, more people come in here, we have to define ourselves. We took a look at the sports complex, which would have been great if we could get it. But if we did that, then what is the plan around it? How do we bring in new restaurants, or how do we support that if there's tournaments and things like that, developing that plan. I think the other thing that we look at is how do we develop more clustered shopping. So we get a anchor store in Waunakee of some sort on the Highway Q, because that seems to be where the traffic is growing. Highway 19 has been relatively similar throughout the years. Highway Q is where a lot of the people coming out of Southbridge, Kilkenny, and those type of subdivisions are really going on Peaceful Valley. They can either take a left or a right and go to Waunakee, or take a left and go to Middleton. And I think if we can encourage and work with our developers, to put some business activity in that area, what we're going to be able to do is keep those dollars in Waunakee.
Okay.
Can I comment on that?
Sure, briefly. Yeah,
Just briefly.
Go ahead. Because you didn't use your full 2 minutes. Go ahead.
I think it's important, in what Jack's saying and bringing the businesses out into the Highway Q corridor is not to forget our current businesses. They've done a wonderful job for many, many years in Waunakee. And talking about bypassing, getting them away from the Southbridge corridor to get them into Middleton or get those businesses out there, we need to make sure that those people are coming downtown as well. I think that's just an important piece of Waunakee. It's our history, it's our heritage, it's where Waunakee started, and we don't want to forget those people. So as bringing in an anchor, whether it be a large box, whoever it may be, that's not going to be good for our community. I won't support that.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the predetermined questions, and so now we're going to move to questions from the audience. And before we get to your question, Nyla, I just want to recognize a very important member of our audience, who is our current village president, John Lobmeyer, who has served as our village president for a number of years, and I think this would be appropriate to give him a round of applause. And John, you might want to be neutral on this since you're the current village president, but if you want to ask the first audience question, I'd be happy to take a question from you to start.
Actually, I would prefer to not say anything.
Okay, fair enough. Then I think, Nyla, you had your hand up right away.
To John Lodmeyer's credit, he has always made it possible for a person to speak without all of the formality of contacting the clerk in advance and asking to be placed on the agenda for a board meeting. I call it an open door policy. As far as I know, John never turned anyone away without being allowed to speak at a board meeting. Will this informality change if you become village president?
And just so people can hear it on the video, question is, current situation is people can come into the board meeting, and my understanding is during comments on items not on the agenda item, they can comment on items not on the agenda. And the question is, if you're elected, would you continue that practice or change it? And I think, whose turn is it to, we'll just go with Jack Heineman to answer first.
Chris, you can have that if you want.
I'll take it, sure.
Okay, sure, go ahead. Chris will answer first.
No, it won't change at all. I mean, public comment section, we always want to have that. The board, we can't respond to the people, but we want to have that public comment section. Obviously, if that comment makes an impact, and hopefully it would, we would put that on an agenda for future discussion.
And I'm the same way. I sit on the school board, and we've got a public comment section. I think it's a great way to get people to, participate in the process. And as Chris said, we can't take action on it because it's not on the agenda. But I talk to people in the community as well. So I'm an open door.
Okay. Next question, I see Karen's hand up.
Thank you. I'm Karen McKim. I live in the area, but I'm the state chair of the Election Integrity Action Team. Our right to self-government depends on our ability to select the people who govern us, and our ability to select the people who govern us depends upon getting our votes counted accurately. And right now, our votes are counted by machines, which are just computers like any other. They're fairly simple computers, and sometimes they produce unexpected miscounts. Right now, if those miscounts are outside the 2% recount margin, no one ever looks at them. Now, during the municipal canvass, the municipal clerks are allowed to check to make sure that the voting machine's counted right, and the State Government Accountability Board has procedures that they can use voluntarily if they want to. Now, I've observed enough to know that Julie and her election clerks do a real good job of checking to make sure the correct number of ballots was counted, but they don't check the correct number of votes right now. If a citizens group approached you, if you get elected, and asked for you to support actually checking to make sure the votes were counted right during that municipal canvass period, even if it cost you the payment of a dozen or so hours of some election officials' time to do some spot checking of the voting machines, would you be receptive to that?
And let's see, we'll start with Jack. And I'm just going to summarize the question for the video again. If elected and if a citizens group comes to you asking for, I guess, an audit of the election and might require 12 hours of overtime, what would be your position on that request?
I think the right to vote is very important, for our government, and I would support, the rules as defined and are supported by, the election authorities.
And Chris Zellner?
Yeah, I absolutely want every vote to be counted. I think that's a very important thing in our society, and whether or not, how that's going to get accomplished to get that done, I don't know that answer right now. I think that'll be a question that the county can help us with, because I think that the county actually oversees the machines. So it'd be something that maybe the county could participate in as well, in getting that done.
And with that, we'll move on to, I believe there's a question in the back. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Paul Lindquist, a 20-year resident of Waunakee. The median value of a home in Waunakee is over $300,000. Would you support encouraging lower value homes being built so that people can afford to move to Waunakee? Teachers in Waunakee could afford to actually live in the village. And what actions might you take to help that?
So question is affordable housing. What in the village of Waunakee, what's your position on creating more affordable housing? And I think, who went first last time? I forget.
I think Jack went first.
Okay, so Chris, it's your turn this time.
Great question, first and foremost. My wife is a school teacher, so, and we do live here, which is a good thing. I actually started as a school teacher myself. I was a school teacher for several years before I went into my current profession. As far as what we can do, obviously we have land that's set aside. The builders are going to determine what they want to build, all right, and the size of the size and scopes of the houses. All right, can we try to influence that? Sure. We can support some housing that would be more affordable. Our housing prices here, I think a lot of people like the fact that their housing prices are high, all right, in the community, all right? They have a sense of pride. I know that when my family moved here, my parents paid $33,000 for their house. It was a huge stretch at the time, huge stretch at the time. And when my dad sold his house, he sold it for $227,000. All right, and that was over about a 30-year span that he was in that residence. I think that our community is one that's known for being one that people want to move to. They want to get there. And they have to work a little bit harder to get here.
frankly, to live in the village because our pricing is a little high right now. What we can do to influence that, we really have to work with our builders and our developers to get that done.
And Jack Hyman, same question. Affordable housing, what's your position?
Well, I think Chris is right. The builders are going to build what sells, but I think one of the things that we've got to look at is, we've got a great business park on the east side of Madison, and I think if I'm a company and I want to move into that business park, the things I'm probably going to be looking at is where can I take my customer to eat? Where is my customer going to stay if he stays overnight? What do my workers have to do in the community, and can they afford to live here? So, from a village board standpoint, I don't think we can set the prices of the housing, but I think what we've got to do is look at working with the builders to see if it's affordable for everybody. And I think also, coming back to the statement of 75% residential tax and 25% business tax, the more we can grow the business pie, we'll be able to reduce taxes on the residents of the community. So, those are the type of things I think can be done.
Okay, other questions from the audience? Any other questions? Okay, well, we do have a little bit of time left, so why don't we give each of the candidates 2 minutes to kind of sum up anything additional they want to say, or maybe ran out of time to say before, and why we should vote for you. So, Jack Heineman, it'll be your turn to go first.
Well, again, I want to thank Tim, for arranging this, the Grow group for organizing it, and John Loudmeyer for, his past service. As I walk through and talk with people, a lot of people have said some very positive things about John. So thank you for your leadership. As far as, why do you vote for Jack Heineman? I've had business experience. I've worked in the areas of economic development. I've lived in other communities, saw what worked and what didn't work in those communities. And we want to build, or I want to build upon what the groundwork that is already laid. And I want to have progressive growth within our means. I want every citizen in the village of Waunakee to have a voice. We listen to everybody, and I'd appreciate your vote April 7th.
And Chris Zellner, you'll get the last word. What are some final thoughts to sum up?
Once again, thanks for everybody coming tonight. I think it's great to have active participants in our community. Thanks for John Van Zinter for his comments tonight as well. I think it's important for everybody to know that Waunakee and Westport do have very good relations in working together at getting things done. That will continue with me as the president. I also want to thank John again for being here tonight and all of his years of service. I think a little contrast between Jack and I would really be that I'm a lifelong resident here, and I know people. I know what people want. I know what they're thinking. My family's been here. My friends are here. I have many classmates from school growing up that live in Waunakee. The reason they stay in Waunakee is because of what we have here, and I want to continue having what we have here. The commercial development Jack talks about, yes, we want to have commercial development, but on a smaller scale, not a large scale. Our growth and development, and Jack being on the school board knows, we want to have a certain amount of growth in our village within the residential, because that's going to help our school systems for the funding going to them from our state. We're going to be faced with, budget cuts. The state's looking at cutting different things right now. That's going to come down to the local level. So we're going to have to be very careful with what we're spending our money on and make sure that we're doing a prudent job of making sure we're taking care of what the citizens need, taking care of our roads, making sure our kids have great schools, parks, keeping the parks up. Madison has that issue. Okay, it's not very cool when you have a park that doesn't get mowed. They just let it overgrow. We don't do that here in Waunakee. We want our residents to have a great quality of life, and that's what I want to continue to do. Thanks.
And I think I probably should let Jack respond to the one point that was made about, Chris says he's a lifelong resident of Waunakee. I think you said that your ancestor graduated from Waunakee High School in 1912, but I think at some point you must have left. So I guess you're not a lifelong resident. So do you want to take a moment to respond to that point?
Well, my wife's grandmother was a Schmitz, which is part of the culture book, if you will, and you'll see our name in the my name, my wife's name, and two of my kids, I think, is when they published it. Not all four girls, but I think what it comes down to is it's ideas, not how long you've lived here, and the experiences that you bring to the position.
And Chris, I did say you'd get the last word. So any final thoughts, or are we?
Really, the only comment I have is Jack and I really don't know each other, but our children are going to go to prom together, apparently. So that's coming up soon. So that'll be my last word.
Okay. And we're a surprise announcement. Can't end on a better note than that. So thank you all for coming. Yes.